guys, here I am to show you how to make a great espresso at home. We're going to be using some basic equipment today. We've got a Breville grinder, a Breville coffee machine, both which are really entry level and easy to buy. We've got some scales, a tamp mat, this cool little contraption which I'll talk about in a sec, and most importantly, some really great coffee beans roasted by us. So we're going to be using our Roaster blend today. Roaster is a really nice, rich coffee that works really well through your espresso machine at home. So the first step in making a great coffee is looking at what we call the brew recipe. Now, every bag of coffee we send out our door has our little brew recipe on the back. On the back of Roaster, we've got a dose, a yield, and a time. That's what we're going to be talking about today. So, what do these things mean? Let's start with the dose. So the dose is a measure of how much coffee we're actually going to use in our portafilter, which is this. How do we measure that? Well, you need some equipment to do that. So I recommend just a nice set of scales. You buy some small scales, entry level, get something for about 20 bucks, and you jump on our website and buy one of these cool little dosing cups. The dosing cup just goes on your scales and you can grind coffee directly into it to weigh it, which I'm going to do right now. So I've ground the coffee and it's come up at 24 grams, so close but not quite right. Our recipe asks for 22 grams. So we're just going to take 2 grams out and then we're good to go. The next step, which makes dosing cups really cool, they've got these little lips that hold it onto the portafilter nicely. I'm just going to tip it in, pop it down on the tamp mat, give it a couple of knocks, and all the coffee will appear nicely in your group handle. Now there's 2 little ways you can go next before we tamp this coffee. We can flatten it out with our hands, which is the cheapest and easiest way, or you can be a little bit over the top like I am and use this distributing tool. Chuck the distributing tool in. The next part's probably the most important part, tamping. So you want to hold the group handle really nice and square against the table with your tamp in your dominant hand. Nice and firmly and flat, push the tamp down and that'll give us a nice flat tamp. Now for the fun part. The reason I like small scales is you can use them both for weighing your dose and for your yield, so how much is coming out. Now our recipe with Roaster is 22 grams in, 45 grams out, and it needs to take 30 seconds for that to happen. What I really like about these Breville machines is they've got a timer built into the machine. So we can see here our coffee's kind of dripping and taking a little bit of time to come out of the portafilter into the cup. So this is a good indicator that the coffee's probably pouring too slow. We're already at 30 seconds and we've only got 20 grams in our cup. Okay, so it took us 41 seconds to pour 45 grams out. So that means the pour rate is actually too slow. So the thing to remember with your coffee grind is, if it's pouring too fast, make it finer. If it's pouring too slow, make it coarser. But your dose will never change. It'll always be the same amount of coffee you're grinding, whether it's coarser or finer. So what we do now is we jump over to our grinder and you'll see there's some settings from coarser to finer. So I'm going to make this a little bit coarser. So what I'm going to do, tear off my little dosing cup and try again. Now the first little bit is still going to be the old grind. So we need to do what's called purge that. So we need to purge that off and get rid of it. Pop her in, set our scales to 0, and let's see how we go. So the first thing we want to look at here is the way it starts to pour. So notice how it doesn't really drip, but it's got like a nice thin tail that's full of color and is really even. This is a good sign that your coffee's pouring nicely. Perfect. So that was 30 seconds, 45 grams out. So now that we've made our perfect shot of coffee, we're going to look at how to steam some milk. I personally really like this Jersey milk made by SunGold. I'm going to fill to just below the pouring spout line on the milk jug. Now, the first thing you've got to remember to do on your coffee machine is purge out all the water that's going to be sitting in your steam wand. Because we don't want that in our nice milk. Then, we put the steam tip in and just break the surface a little bit and get it on an angle so that the milk's going to be spinning around. And you should hear this noise. So when you're getting close to finishing, you'll feel the side of the steam jug gets quite hot. You want to do it to a point where it's not ridiculously hot, but it just starts to feel uncomfortable to touch. Turn off your steam, move the jug out, give it a wipe straight away so we get that milk off it. I like to then just purge that last little bit of steam out again to make sure any milk residue is gone. Knock out any bubbles and you're good to go. Your milk should look nice and silky like this, almost like a glossy white paint. Then we get our coffee, we want to pour it in. And you might even want to do some latte art at the end.